If you are one of our children's ministry volunteers this week, please stand up so that the children can make their way over to you now. And for the rest of you, I am in charge of the adult children for this morning. How are you guys doing? Good. Okay. Hey, I heard some good. I heard some great. That's good. I am doing so good that I forgot to put shoes on before I left the house to come preach. That's how good I'm doing. For those of you who haven't heard, my exactly 10-month-old son. Today is 10 months. He has been sick over this past weekend, some kind of stomach virus, something or other. He had a 102 fever on Friday. And, personally, I just assumed 102 was like go to the hospital level, right? My fevers don't usually get up to 102. And so we called the pediatricians. They said, okay, well, if it gets above 105, then call us back. I was like, my brother in Christ, if it gets past 105, I'm just going to the ER. I'm not dialing in anything on my phone. Apparently the rules were different for 10-month-old babies than they do for whatever I am. I can't remember how old I am. I stopped counting after like 25. I just became old and that was it, right? But so, the past weekend, been thrown up on a lot, have done 27 loads of laundry. As it goes, right? The house smells specifically like baby vomit. It's a unique thing. Adult vomit is not like pleasant, but I guess between the two. Anyways, and so on my way out the door trying to wrangle everything, one of the things I forgot was socks. Another one of the things I forgot was shoes. So here I am in the sandals that I used to go get the mail in the morning. Which doesn't even make sense. There wasn't mail this morning. It is Sunday morning. But I'm here, I'm alive, you guys are here, you're alive, some of you are doing good, some of you are even doing great, I'm glad to hear that. And I'm really glad to pick it up this morning in our series called Spirituality for Normal People. Throughout this series, for those of you who haven't been here during this series so far, we are tackling one of the problems that nearly all of us face at some point throughout our lives as Christians. We've been tackling the question, how do I actually talk to God? Know what I'm talking about? What do I actually talk to God about? How do I actually get to know the Lord during the time that I spend with Him each day? How do I actually grow closer to the Lord as I pray, read the Bible, enter His presence each day? What's happened for most of us as modern American Christians is this. We know we're supposed to talk to the Lord, but no one ever actually taught us how to talk to the Lord. And because that is true, we are trekking through a book in the Bible called the Psalms. Because the Psalms exist to answer these exact questions for us. We are picking it back up where we left off last week about bringing our gratitude to the Lord. We're breaking down what it looks like to draw closer and closer and closer to the Lord each day by entering His presence and asking, what am I grateful for today? But just like last week, there's a problem. And that is that if you're anything like me, gratitude does not come naturally to you. Right? Like, I don't know about you, but the thing that comes naturally to me is the opposite of gratitude. And what comes naturally to me is never, I'm so thankful for this and this and this and this. Instead, what comes naturally to me is always, I'm so angry I don't have that and that and that. Can anybody relate to that one? Yes. Okay, I figured. There's a reason that we're like this. And it's actually not just because we're bad. It's because we've been trained our whole lives to be like this. Know what I'm talking about? We've been trained our whole lives to be like this. Here's what I mean. Today, if you are alive in the United States of America, which is most of us, I thought you would think that was funny. You live in what they call a consumer culture. We live in a consumer culture. What is a consumer culture? It means our culture hinges on us consuming more and more and more than previous generations could ever even have imagined, right? Our entire economy hinges on consuming and consuming and consuming, wanting more and more and more, needing more and more and more, demanding more and more and more, working more and more and more so that we can afford more and more and more, so we can spend more and more and more, so we can accumulate more and more and more and more, and so on. Why? It's because if everybody stops buying stuff, what happens? The economy collapses. If people stop spending money everywhere, on everything, all the time, constantly, without stopping, the United States of America literally collapses. So, what does our consumer culture have to do to stop that from happening? It has to train us to be constantly dissatisfied. The moment everybody becomes satisfied, the economy collapses. And so the cultural messaging around us at every single moment is what? It's you don't have enough. You're not doing enough. Your kids aren't getting enough. Don't you love your kids? Your family's not providing enough. Don't you love your family? Right? We see this all over the place. Whatever we are doing, it's wrong, and we have to fix it by doing a different thing that, ironically, involves buying something. So, our culture says if your kids are eating this, you're poisoning them. Every kid in the world up to this point has also eaten this, and we're fine. But your kids, Amen. Those red dyes, they're going to kill you, right? You have to buy this other thing that is much more expensive that my company produces so that you can detox them. If you are watching this type of TV, it is breaking your brain. You need to buy this other type of TV. If you are watching this streaming service, you are poisoning your family's mind. You need to buy our special streaming service that only ever shows things that line up with this ideological view so that you can protect your family. If you're not wearing this type of deodorant, no women will ever want to sleep with you. Women, you don't have to worry about that. The men are still going to want to sleep with you. But you, men, you better buy Old Spice. If your grandpa hadn't worn it, you wouldn't be here, right? If you are not doing this other thing, if you're just living a normal life, your testosterone levels are too low. Ever listen to a podcast aimed at men? They're always saying your testosterone levels are too low. Okay. They say, you got to buy these testosterone supplements that my company sells. If your house is only 1,500 square feet, it's too small. You can't possibly stack all your kids up in the same room like every single family in the world did up until 5 minutes ago in history. Every kid has got to have their own room, or else you are traumatizing your kid. You got to buy a bigger house. It just so happens my podcast is sponsored by a real estate company. Those two things are unrelated. If your lawn is a little bit overgrown, all the neighbors are going to be talking about you. So you've either got to hire my lawn care service to come out every single week, or you got to buy this $4,000 lawnmower that will get it all done really, really quick so you can keep up with the Joneses. If you've had your car for more than 5 years, it's already so worn down that everybody knows that you're a cheapskate, or you're poor, or you're a poor cheapskate. Whatever the case is, you should feel bad. You need to sell your old car for nothing. You need to get a 5-year payment plan for a brand new car that is an even more complicated computer full of features that you'll never use, but that also make it so you cannot fix your own car yourself without a special degree. It's like the great philosopher Tyler Durden from Fight Club once said, "We work jobs we hate to buy things we don't need, to impress people we don't like." Starting a fight club was a very bad solution to that problem, but that is a real problem. If you are a modern American living in 2026, you have been psyoped into hating your life. But it has nothing to do with reality. It's a brainwashing project by people who are trying to sell you shoes and make you lose all your money on DraftKings. But the result is that for so many of us, we've come to believe that basic message in the deepest parts of ourselves. We've come to believe I can only be happy if I get insert thing here. The fundamental mindset you and I and everybody else around us has been indoctrinated into is a mindset that says, I can only be happy if I get this thing. And what's funny is, it doesn't even actually have to be about money. Know what I'm talking about? It doesn't even have to be about buying stuff. This whole mindset was meant to sell us a bunch of crap, but we internalized it deeper than anybody ever actually meant us to. We internalized it to a point that we still feel this way, even if we don't buy into the consumerist mentality. Here's what I'm talking about. Whether you buy anything or not, there's a very good chance that at some point, one of these things has run through our heads. If I could just get this other job, then I'd be happy, right? Or if I could just quit work and be a stay-at-home parent, then I'd be happy. If I could just make more money, then I'd be happy. If I could just get rid of this lame spouse and be with this other person over here that I find more exciting instead, then I'd be happy. If I could just have kids, then I'd be happy. If I could just have more kids, then I'd be happy. If I could just have a few less kids, if I could get rid of a few of the ones that are ranked the lowest for me, then I'd be happy. If I could just live in the big city, then I'd be happy. If I could just live out in the woods as a hermit, then I'd be happy. If I could just stop following all these religious rules and have sex with whoever I wanted to, then I'd be happy. If I could just start taking hormone replacement therapy and present as a woman instead of a man, or vice versa, then I'd be happy. If I could just have a homestead surrounded by animals, then I'd be happy. If I could just stop paying taxes, then I'd be happy. If I could just make my business more successful, then I'd be happy. If I could just have a bigger church, then I'd be happy. If I could just have a smaller church, then I'd be happy. If I could just drive a different car, then I'd be happy. If I could just have more friends, then I'd be happy. And on and on and on and on. Whether or not you buy anything, that is the consumerist mentality. Here's the problem. Consumer culture has indoctrinated us into feeling like the key to happiness is behind some other door we haven't opened yet, constantly. And it doesn't matter which door you open. It's never the door, because it can't be the door. Because the whole point of this mentality is that the door is always somewhere else. We've been immersed in these cultural waters so long that we don't even realize these things are not facts when they pop into our heads. These are just cultural assumptions we've sponged up through the years because of the fact that we live in a place and a time that just takes these things for granted. But none of these things are actually true. Know what I'm talking about? There's a really famous book with a really famous title. It's called Wherever You Go, There You Are, by an author named Jon Kabat-Zinn. But that title of the book, it was taken from a different book, from a different guy, a Christian monk named Thomas à Kempis. Ever heard of this one before? So it's kind of like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Michael Jordan, Michael Scott. Wherever you go, there you are. Jon Kabat-Zinn, Thomas à Kempis. The point of the book is really simple. It's that changing your circumstances can definitely be good. Amen. But, you knew there was a but. It can't do anything to make your life better if you don't also change yourself. It's that the fundamental source of your happiness or unhappiness is ultimately not your circumstances or your job or your spouse or your work or your kids or your lifestyle or your whatever else. It's that whatever else is true about your situation in life, you are ultimately the author of either your happiness or your misery. Amen. The really famous psychotherapist Albert Ellis put it this way. He said, you either stubbornly insist on making yourself miserable, or you stubbornly refuse to make yourself miserable. And you are doing one of those two things right now. And that means what? It means if you are miserable in your current job, a different job absolutely might remove some of the obstacles to happiness that you're running into on the outside. But it can't change anything about the obstacles to happiness that you have on the inside. Leaving the person that you're currently married to and going and being with somebody else might remove some of the obstacles that the other person is setting down to your happiness, but it won't remove the obstacles that you've built up within yourself. Making more money can definitely remove some poverty-related external obstacles to your happiness, but it can't remove any of the internal obstacles that you've set up. Becoming a stay-at-home parent can definitely remove some of those external problems standing in the way of your happiness, but it cannot change anything about the internal obstacles that you have latched on within yourself. We could do this all day, and this is important because the truth is, those external obstacles at the absolute most only ever really add up to maybe 10% of our unhappiness. That's a made-up statistic, but you get what I'm talking about. 90% also made up, but 90% of your dissatisfaction is coming from within you, not from outside of you. That's why there's a lot of weirdly happy, dirt poor people. And a lot of strangely miserable, filthy, rich people. There's a lot of shockingly happy people who've been through unbelievably traumatic things. And there is a lot of just infuriatingly miserable people who've never really faced any major challenges. It's because wherever you go, there you are. You will carry yourself into whatever new situation that you build for yourself. What's the point of all this. The point is that our happiness has to be rooted in something other than our circumstances. The point is, we will never stay happy so long as our happiness is rooted in what we have. We will never stay happy so long as our happiness is rooted in where we are in life. We will never stay happy so long as our happiness is rooted in whether things are going our way. We will never stay happy so long as our happiness is rooted in who we are married to, or where we work, or whether we work, or whether we have kids, or whether we're rich, or whether we're poor, or whether we're hungry, or whether we're struggling, or whether we're experiencing ease, or whether people like us or dislike us, or whether we are lucky or unlucky, and so on and so forth. Our happiness has to be rooted in something deeper than us, something larger than us, something more ancient than us. It has to be rooted in something more enduring than any of the situations we will go through in life. The way that a guy named Martin Seligman, he's kind of the central figure in something they call positive psychology, which sounds like something I would just stay the heck away from. I'm kind of a gloomy person. I don't like things that are real sunny and upbeat. But forget the name. What it is the study of human happiness. The way that he puts this is that happiness, contentment, satisfaction is ultimately best defined as this: learning to want what you already have. Continuing to want what you already have. Learning to love what is already yours. Learning to enjoy what's already in front of you. Finding the goodness in the things that are already part of your life, that already belong to you, that already have a claim on you, that you are already a part of. He said, based on years and years of studying the phenomenon of human happiness, wherever we can find it, that the root of human happiness seems to be learning to see every part of your life as a gift that's been given to you. The way he put it was that happiness is a skill, not an outcome. I should have made that into a slide, but I didn't. He said actual happiness is a skill, not an outcome. He said things don't happen that then make you happy. He said happiness is the thing that happens when you cultivate the skill that makes it happen. He says happiness is the thing that happens when you practice finding the goodness in the things that are already in your life. He said happiness is the thing that happens when you practice wanting the things you already have. So, to sum it up, happiness can only stick if it comes from somewhere deeper than your circumstances. That was the world's longest intro. I promise there's not like an hour left, don't worry. Because the question is this: how do we cultivate the skill of finding our happiness in something deeper than our circumstances? I think we see exactly how in Psalm 107. We started our deep dive into Psalm 107 last week, but we're going to plumb the rest of the depths together this morning. And so just like last Sunday, I invite you to read this together with me. Sound good? Are you ready? Here we go. Give thanks to Yahweh, for He is good, for His loving kindness endures forever. So, last week, we talked about two foundational truths that we see happening in that verse. You remember what they were? It's okay. I probably wouldn't either. One, we learned that the God this psalmist believes in is generous and trustworthy. You know what I'm talking about? He says, I can trust this God because He is good. He says, I can trust this God because of His loving kindness. He says, I can trust this God because of the glorious things that are true about this God that endure forever. And therefore, two, we talked about the fact that noticing His generosity is an act of worship. We used a very specific term for what the psalmist is doing here. We said the psalmist is fishing for gratitude. Is it coming back to you? He is thanking the Lord for the ways the Lord has been there for him. He is thanking the Lord for the ways that He's shown up for him. He's thanking the Lord for the ways the Lord has blessed him. The Lord has taught him to notice the ways that He's intervened on his behalf through this regular practice of stopping and asking himself, what am I grateful for? Who am I grateful to? What has the Lord done for me? What gifts has the Lord given to me? What good things has the Lord placed in my life? Where do I see the Lord's generosity at work in my life right now? Who has the Lord generously worked through to bless me lately? And when He does this, what He's doing is cultivating gratitude within himself. The psalmist is allowing the Lord to retrain his mind and his heart away from the constant, relentless pull of I need more. I need something else. I need something better. I need something different. I can't be happy until I get this thing. I can't be content until I reach that thing. I can't be satisfied till I achieve that goal. I can't be okay till I get this thing. And instead, to pull his mind and heart toward contentment. We cultivate enduring happiness by training ourselves to fish for gratitude. As we train ourselves to see the Lord as generous and trustworthy, what we're actually doing is cultivating our own capacity for happiness regardless of our circumstances. And here's the really big punchline that all of this has been heading toward this morning. If all of this is true, then what it means is the good things we experience in this life aren't the only gifts the Lord has given us. So are the bad things. Here's what I'm talking about. The psalmist says, there is a God who is not only bigger than me and stronger than me, but also wiser than me, smarter than me, who can see further than me. He says, there is a God who is far-sighted where I'm nearsighted, who sees clearly where I see through a glass dimly, where my perception is distorted. He says, there's a God who knows what is good for me, where I often mistake what will be good for me, who knows what will help me, where I often reach for things I don't even realize will harm me, who knows what will bless me, where I often reach for things that will actually curse me, who knows what is in my best interest at any given moment in my life, who knows what will ultimately lead me to the ultimate joy in the end, regardless of how it feels in the moment, and who has carefully and meticulously planned out every moment of my life in order to bring about an unquenchable flood of goodness for me rather than badness. And that means that because this God is trustworthy, everything He gives to me is trustworthy. Even the bad things that He allows to come my way. He says, because this God is trustworthy, the disappointments I experience are actually gifts the Lord has given me to bless me in the long term instead of just the short term. The people who've abandoned me is a gift the Lord has given me to bless me 4 or 5 chess moves ahead in ways I can't even see, but my life would be a disaster without. There's sometimes straight up unbearable losses that I go through. The grief, the deaths, the suffering are actually gifts the Lord has given me to set the stage for a deeper and wider and vaster blessing than I can even imagine in the moment. One metaphor that I've heard before is that it's good to have a house, right? But you can't build a house without hitting a bunch of nails with a hammer. And divorced from the context of building a house, just hitting a bunch of nails with a hammer for no reason seems needlessly cruel, needlessly violent, seems painful if you assume that nails feel things. And yet when the house is built, everything makes sense. So many of the things in our lives look like curses because we're still standing in half-built houses. But we'll understand in the end. And because that is true, the psalmist says a bunch of things that seem insane. He's saying, I've been through unbearable tragedies, but these tragedies have been allowed by this eternally good God who created us in loving kindness. I've been through excruciating pain, but this pain has been allowed by this God who redeems and sustains us in loving kindness. I've been through the most horrific things imaginable, but these horrific things have been allowed by this God who providentially shepherds every step of our life in loving kindness that He's planned out from eternity past to bring about our ultimate good. Therefore, I give thanks to the Lord, for He is good, and His loving kindness endures forever. That is the gratitude the Lord is working to grow within us. And that is the gratitude that makes actual happiness possible. This is really not a sermon about how to be happy, but it's impossible to talk about gratitude without talking about happiness, because at the baseline level, a person who's capable of being happy is a person who has learned this truth, that if I get the things I want, that is a gift, and if I'm denied the things I want, that is a gift. Genuine happiness becomes possible for us when we start to wrap our heads around the fact that there are two very different ways the Lord can bless us. He can bless us by giving us the life we wanted, or He can bless us by denying us the life we wanted. And both of those things are actually good, because the root of real happiness is not getting the life we wanted. The root of actual happiness is getting what the Lord gives us, because what the Lord gives us is for our ultimate good. And so, like this psalmist, when we are experiencing things that feel unbearably terrible, we can trust that the short-term terribleness of this thing is ultimately leading toward our long-term joy. And here's why all of that matters. It's because when we get this, we start to grow closer to the Lord in a unique way. This is a weird sentence that we're not used to hearing in American churches, but we grow closer to the Lord as we learn to trust the pain He allows us to experience. Amen. The more we begin to wrap our head around this, the more we actually begin to enjoy the Lord's presence. Coming to the Lord and meditating on the things we're grateful for from His open hand actually changes our experience of God. It changes how we feel about Him. It changes how we enjoy Him day in and day out. Because each day when you go to the Lord to be with Him, you know this: the Lord is going to give me something today. And it may be enjoyable, or it may be painful, but it will definitely, ultimately be a gift. If I'm inconvenienced today, that inconvenience is a gift that you're giving me. If everything that I planned is derailed today, that derailing is a gift that you have given me. If I'm too tired to even do anything by the middle of the day, that tiredness is a gift that you have given me. I don't see how yet, but I will eventually, and that means I can handle whatever happens to me today. None of what happens to me today is going to break me, because none of it has escaped your wise, providential hand. Whatever you allow me to experience today is ultimately for my good, so I can trust the pain you allow me to experience, and the result is that you actually grow closer to Him. And it all started because you sat down or went for a walk or pulled out a notebook or whatever, and you read a little bit from His Word, and then you asked, what am I grateful for today? And then you spent however much time you had just talking to Him about that. And we want to make this as easy, simple, and doable as possible for you. And so we put together a really simple devotional guide that is full of these conversation starters that you can use to help guide you during your time with Him each day. We've got copies of the devotional guide up here at the front, and we invite you to come grab one if you don't already have one. But whatever it looks like, go home this week and take your first baby steps in the process of growing into this radical gratitude toward your God of unquenchable loving kindness, who has loved you and favored you for longer than you've existed, and who fills your life with good gifts from his generous hands in a way that bonds you closer to him than anything you've ever experienced. And if you're ready to do that, then I want to invite you to take your next step this morning. Whatever the Lord is moving you to right now, I want to invite you to take this really small but really bold next step in one of three ways. As we sing together in just a moment, I want to invite you to come down the aisle and pray about it with me up here. Or if coming down the aisle makes your blood run cold, then I want to invite you to meet me here in the sanctuary after the service is over in just a moment. Or if you can't stick around and talk after the service either, then instead I invite you to text that number on the screen and we can start a conversation about it. Whatever it looks like for you this morning, take that next step of faith and we can talk or pray through whatever is on your heart. Now, please stand with me. And as we respond in worship through song, the altar is open.